Okay, here we go. Hi everyone. It's Thursday night. I'm Kipp Davis. I'm a specialist in early Judaism and a Hebrew Bible scholar, and this is the show where we read Hebrew. And tonight I'm joined by my friend. Look, I came off of the soundboard, Jordan, right when I need it. I'm joined by my friend Jordan Jones from the University of Iowa in Bible and Archaeology.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here.
Nice. So, Jordan was actually we had planned on him being here last week, and then because you live in Iowa,
It's that time of
suddenly
year for tornadoes.
he's like, but it wasn't. So it was like you were in a meeting the week before, and
so I was gonna be. I'm gonna be very happily going on a trip to Greece this summer, taking some students from the classic department, and so we've got pre-trip things.
Yeah,
and there were tornadoes, and so then meetings get rescheduled, and it's like we have to get everybody's flights booked, and so then things get all the disasters of trying to book international travel for 20 undergrads and tornadoes mixing things up. So we're good. Today it's nice. It's sunny. It's 75. Yesterday was not. Tomorrow will not. But today is nice.
Excellent.
It's not all bad. The Midwest isn't all bad.
It's not. So, well, the University of Iowa is there.
Yes, very happy to be here.
It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, love it here.
Based on reports. So, yeah. So, on short notice, I couldn't find anybody to fill in, it didn't bother me that much because I canceled the show and I was happy for the break actually. So that was all good. I had enticed you a few weeks prior with Joshua chapter 2, the story of Rahab, but then we were rude and went ahead and finished it.
That's all right.
Before we got around it.
I wasn't here. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So I'm gonna say hi to some people and then we'll get started here. So it's good to see you, Chink and Jason Hare. I don't know if you're familiar, Jordan, with Jason Hare. Lives in Tel Aviv, outside of Tel Aviv, but is an American guy who relocated to Israel and teaches Hebrew online through a resource called the Hebrew Cafe.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's excellent. So good to see you guys. And noise ending is one of my first year Hebrew students. Good to see you. And I was never here is here, but don't tell anyone. So Scott P1V is here and Lil is here. I will get Dagon his treats after the stream, I think, because I think we're gonna want to jump in. Chrissy Hansen, good to see you. And Mossy Matt was one of my students from last year. So and Prixie's here. Prixie's one of my Hebrew students as well. Midwest is cool, but why does my basement have 2 inches of water?
That's a real problem. That is true. That is not ideal. Basements. Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from California, so I can't answer that question for me. Basements were a whole new thing to me. Basements and attics, a whole new world.
No basements in California.
No,
really.
I mean, like some people did, but it was like you wanted to do it for a game room. Like you had to. There's no reason to dig it out, and there's nobody. I didn't know anybody who had one.
Yeah. Wow. See, I think that's the thing. I grew up on the prairies, and everyone had one. Right, like there was a basement in every house. So
yeah, but the water, 4 feet of water in somebody's grandma's basement. Yeah, no, it is.
Right.
This is like that. It's the super heavy rain time, and so it just pushes up through the floor, and everything gets overloaded. It is a problem.
Yeah. So that is the brilliant Chrissy Hansen. If you're unfamiliar with her, she's a good person to get to know. She just finished a graduate degree in English, but has worked a lot and published quite a bit in biblical studies, and actually just recently published a book on the book of Philemon. I haven't read it yet, but it looks pretty good. Yes, there it is. I very badly damaged my finger. A few of the people in the chat have seen the pictures and can attest to the damage. So it's on the mend. But for today, here's what we're doing. We're going to read Numbers chapter 25, which very inconveniently begins at the bottom of the page. Right? That's
Yeah.
oh shit, there we go. So and I'll tell the backstory of this right away. I'm really excited about this. Jordan wrote his PhD dissertation on the development, the development of the tradition of the covenant, the eternal covenant of Phinehas, who appears in the actual covenant passage actually appears in Numbers 25 too, right?
The
So
only time.
the only time,
The
right?
only
As
time.
I'm learning, I'm
I would
reading it
say.
now, and
I would argue the only time.
well, you're convincing me. So so Jordan wrote his PhD and defended it last spring, right? Okay. So I've done for the last 2 years, for my annual birthday stream, which is coming up next week, I have reviewed a PhD dissertation, and so I thought this is pretty new and fresh, and I like Jordan. So I asked him if he'd be interested in coming on and talking about his work. So that's what we're doing next week. And I figured, you know what, like, let's just read it. It's
Yeah.
it's a cool passage. It's an interesting story. And honestly, I'll tell you, because I was looking at it today, and I mean, like, this text is kind of a mess, isn't it?
It is an
It
absolute disaster, which we can talk about this week
is,
and next
yes.
week and every week.
Okay.
It is a
Okay.
mess. It is a mess. So
really
if you're
is.
reading through this and you're like, the first 5 verses
Oh my
don't
God.
sound like the rest, you're like, yeah. And then if you get into the
Right.
rest and you're like, this sounds like 4 different things. Yeah. It's yeah. It's bad.
So
Or
there's
it's really
lots
good.
of yeah, I know it's cool. It's like it is. It's interesting. So there's lots of source criticism in your work. I haven't got through the meat of it yet. I just recently started. I was going to commit the weekend to it, but yeah, no, it's I'm excited about it. So everybody make sure you're back on Thursday, like a week from today actually.
Yeah.
To hear Jordan talk about this
When
some more.
I didn't tell you this, but my birthday's at the end of April too, so it's kind of like a 2 for 1.
Yay. Well, I will wish you a happy birthday next week. So
Same.
nice. All right. Well, let's start reading. And guests first, usually,
yeah.
I guess. If you wanna start with verse 1, we can. Oh, and I'll just set this up for anybody who's new here who hasn't seen the show. What happens is we will take turns reading a verse from the selected text. We will parse the verbs, we'll translate it, and maybe say some things about other interesting things that are going on. So there we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, Numbers 25, 1. Vayishev Israel Bashitim Vayachel Ha'am Liznot El Benot Moav. And so, and the first right, and they were dwelling, Yeshav, sit, settle, reside, dwell, third person masculine singular, and subject here being Israel. So Vav consecutive as well. So it's as they were dwelling while they were dwelling in Shittim. And here we have again a third person singular, but it's referring back to Israel. So the people, they were halal. They were profaning themselves sexually. They were having intercourse relations. I don't know what's the language from Bill Clinton. I don't know. Yeah, I did not have intimate relations with that woman.
I did not have. Yes,
something like that. They were doing
like
stuff. They were doing things that they shouldn't do. These
right.
note to play if you want to use harlot, to play the whore, to like, they were profaning themselves by doing this, by whoring themselves to the daughters of Moab, or with the daughters of Moab. So they were doing the dirt with the daughters of Moab while they were in Shittim, and they really shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah, it's no good.
They're up to no good from the start.
Fornicating, as the writer of the authoritative King James version would probably say. I didn't
Yeah,
actually
and
look it
like
up,
in
but
the like with halal, I mean, here so like it is just to be to like profane yourself, so it doesn't have to be sexual, but because like a lot of this Numbers 25 is just like sex all the way down if you want it to be. I mean, it is.
yeah, but you
So
don't have to,
it
right?
doesn't
Like,
have
that's
to
the
be.
other thing about it,
Yeah, it
which I
doesn't
find
have to be.
kind of interesting.
And we'll get to this because like Phineas's actions themselves can become very sexual if you want them to be, or they don't have to be.
Yeah.
But they're profaning themselves here, and they are, because also when you're doing like to play the harlot here, to have sexual relations, like this can also just be the idea of not sexual activity, but going after the other gods. So if you want to make this into more of just an idolatry as the other deity, and the heightened polemic of sexual language, like there are readings of it that try to like diminish and say, oh, playing into the sex is actually working against what the real concern is, connecting the peoples together, and what we're gonna have, like with the sacrifices and the role of food in the first couple verses here. Susan Ackerman has written some about that, like the role of food here at the beginning, and just leaning into, and I'm getting ahead of myself for next week, but I don't talk about the food stuff in the dissertation, so I feel like I can today. So like, moving away from, just reading sexually and looking at that other idea of it can open up some different things.
Yeah, wow. Oh, shoot, I lost my I was going to mention something else here, before moving on to verse 2, because, I've gotten into the habit of, just making sure, like, when I'm prepping the text, ahead of the show, I've just been going into a Discord channel, and, some people will pop in and join me, and one of the guys who was there today, um he asked a question about, the Midianites and the Moabites, which we'll get
Yeah.
to, no doubt, right? But I went back and looked, because this is so the way this story was always framed to me, as, growing up reading the Bible, was that this comes right after, Balaam is hired by Balak to curse the Israelites. And I have this recollection. It might be from my picture Bible, or from the Bible and drama radio plays that I used to listen to as a kid. The way they set this up was that when all the curses didn't work, Balaam was like, "Okay, here's what we do." And they set up this ruse by the daughters of Moab to entice the Israelites in order to undo the blessings of Yahweh. And I mean, I guess that fits somewhat contextually, but so much of that stuff is just not in there. Like, it literally, like, the story of Balaam and Balak just ends. It says at the end of chapter 24 that Balaam went home and Balak went back to Moab. Like, it's and then there's this. So
yeah, when they like,
I think
there is a mess with the Moabite Midianite, which we'll see like in the first 5 verses and then further down. And some of this you can see like an attempt to fix this back in Numbers 22, when we have Moabite and Midianite elders that come forward to talk. So at Numbers 22, I want to say it's like 22:7.
Right, okay.
So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian. But then as soon as you get further down, it's just back to Moab, because Moab's who's here. But 22:7 seems to know that 25 is going to mix the two of these things together. The two people groups get muddled.
Oh yeah.
But Balaam,
okay,
he shows up again in like later Phinehas stuff, that Phinehas, they have magical fights, like in later traditions as it grows out.
Really?
He's all yeah.
That's so cool.
His afterlife gets really interesting, because he gets this really big thing and yet like isn't around anywhere. So like, what are you going to do with him?
Okay, now I need to see this. So, but we'll continue reading for now, though. With verse 2. I forgot the cursor for verse 1. My apologies to everyone. V'tekrena la'am lizbechei Eloheihen v'yochal ha'am v'yishtachavu le'Elohein. Sorry, le'Eloheihen. There we go. Right. That was shorter than I was expecting. Okay. And literally they called to the people. They invited the people, and this is a construct here. They invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods.
Mm-hmm.
And it says the people ate and they bowed down low, or they worshipped their gods. So we've got a cow, imperfect, second feminine plural here. It's got this this interesting form on the end here, which looks almost like an energic noon, but or pedagogic noon, but it's not. This is part of the feminine plural ending, but without the hey. So yeah, it's sorry, second feminine plural, vav consecutive from kara. And then the other verbs here, you've got vayochal is a kal imperfect, third masculine singular vav consecutive. Singular, notice, because the subject is ha'am, which is also a singular noun. And then we've got v'yishtachavu, which is they call it a hishtafel, because of this thing that happens with the hitpe'al of verbs that begin with the letter sheen or seen. The technical term is metathesis, where the letters flip as a way. It's an aid for pronunciation. It's easier to say vayishtachavu than it is to say vayetshachavu. So it flipped in the in probably just in the vernacular usage of it. So this is a hitpe'al from chava, which sorry, no, it's shacha, isn't it? I have to look now.
I think it's is
it chava? Because I thought chava. Oh yeah, it is. It's chava. It is chava. So, but this is like a really weird form, which yeah, has the sheen and the tav in there. I should really have stopped and taken a look. I should take a look at some point on the on the etymology of this word. As far as I'm aware, this verb only occurs in the hishtafel.
In the hish, yeah.
So it's, and part of me wonders if maybe they're guessing at the root with that. So only ever occurs in the hitpe'al. It's the only way you'll see it, and it always just means to bow down low or to worship. So I think that's
and this
is everything.
This is your verse where if you want to read the profaning above as not sexual, this is where Ackerman's argument builds of like, what type of eating, what type of cult is this? Is this ancestor cult? Because what we're going to have is a lot of like genealogical concerns that come out of this and relations out of it. So is this participation in and competing power structures between who has cult authority? The female food-based cult and sacrificial rituals that may be on offer here versus that of the line of Aaron.
Right. Yeah.
As like competing things in the first 5 verses.
Okay. And you can go in the other direction too, because as I've written about this, and as I remind people, the verb achal is often used euphemistically for sexual appetites, right?
Yeah, you have
the indulgence. It's
you have both, which is such a fun part of Numbers 25. Like you can, and you see people go both ways with it.
Yeah,
you have everything.
So you have everything. All right.
Verse 3. Vayitzamed Israel leBaal Peor, Vayichar af Adonai beIsrael. And they yoked, or they joined themselves, they associated themselves together with Israel, did to Baal Peor. So Israel yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor, or Baal Peor, depending on what you want to do with it. And they're they nifaled, third masculine singular. They were yoked, or they joined themselves to. And the Lord was very angry with Israel, and the anger of the Lord was kindled. Call third masculine singular for the to be angry. So, and it was angry, the off. When we're going to get like the off showing up for the anger in a number of different ways here, with the intensification of different expressions for like the way divine anger can manifest itself. And some unique phrasing that's not like completely unique just to Numbers 25, but in some of the older phrases that we're going to get with connections into the Lord's anger in this text.
Something else I make a point of quite often is to note that off is also the same word for nose, which I love this, that that anger is the nose. And the way I think about it is within I think about it a couple ways. I think about the way that your nose scrunches up when you make an angry face, right?
Just the manifestation. Your nostrils flare.
That's right. But the other way I think about this is through just the theory of sacrifice as a means of appeasement, right? It's we read quite frequently throughout the biblical text of the odor of the offered elements wafting upwards, and as it says it's a soothing odor to Yahweh, and I always just picture him, just kind of breathing it in, right? As an appeasement. It's like he smells it with his nose, and it settles his nose. The anger subsides.
Which, and again, if you're open to the food as the profanity, if they're yoking themselves, the way they're yoking themselves, according to verse 2, is through this participation in the sacrifices and the eating. And so the smelling, like, is both the anger, but is because you've done the profane sacrifice, that this is like the aroma is smelled, but in a negative way. You've yoked yourself incorrectly, which then, is not the good result, but is the negative result.
Yes. Right. Okay. And I think that was everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 4. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, kach et kol roshei ha'am, vahoka otam le Adonai neged hashemesh. Vayashov Aaron af Adonai Misrael. All right, so Yahweh said to Moses, take all of the heads of the people and this is like string them up, hang them for exposure for Yahweh before the sun. And I'll talk about this in a minute. I think this is an appropriate place to translate the conjunction as then at that point. The heat or the fury of the anger of Yahweh turned from Israel, or I guess will turn from Israel if this is still him speaking. Seems it could be, but yeah. So just the verbs quickly. We have viomer is a cal vav consecutive third masculine singular from amar. Kach, this one here is this is a cal imperative masculine singular. You'll notice the way that we make it, it's nice, it's neatly illustrative with a word like this, because this behaves like a first noon verb, even though it begins with the letter lamed. The lamed disappears in the imperfect, and when you're making an imperative, what you do is you're just eliminating that that verbal suffix altogether. So instead of tikach, we're left with lakach. Or sorry, we're left with kach. So yes, cal imperative. And then we've got v'hoka is a hiphil. Perfect. Third masculine singular with a conjunctive vav. I believe it's a conjunctive vav. I could check that on it's probably a vav consecutive, isn't it?
I think this
let's
is
see.
imperative.
Oh, it is an imperative. Sorry, you're right.
Because
Yeah. So that would be a conjunctive vav. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So that's a hiphil imperative, masculine singular from yaka. And then vayashov is a cow, imperfect with the, and I'm checking this one to see what accordance says about whether this is oh no, it just says it's an imperfect with adjustive meaning. So it's it's a cal imperfect with a conjunctive vav from shuv, which means to turn or return. So this word here, though, this expression here, v'hoka otam la'Adonai neged hashemesh. This is the I've been doing a lot of reading about crucifixion recently, and this is the way that a number of scholars will distinguish between crucifixion as a means of or sorry, I should say this is now, how does this go? This would be, I guess, like an ancient form of crucifixion with exposure. You just you hang the guy up on probably on a pole, in
like
front of the sun,
impaling and flaying, and
exactly.
Your flayed man comes out here.
Different. The distinction here is with the Deuteronomy 20, is it 21 or 22 passage, which talks about hanging up corpses.
Yeah.
And how you have to get those down before sundown. So it's an interesting reaction here, I think.
Well, it's going to be an important, the command of the fulfillment of this, the impaling, becomes the fulfillment that we get later on. But yeah, with the somebody had noted, Jason noted, with our like the yashav in the jussive, it's like our our purpose clause, like the command with the imperative up front, in order that the divine wrath of the Lord might be turned away. It's not, you gotta complete the action.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Right. Okay. Good. I think that's it.
I think so.
Verse 5.
Verse 5. Vayomer Moshe el shofte Israel hirgu ish anashav hanitzmadim lebaal peor. And Moses said to the judges of Israel, or if you want to do it, judges, chiefs, leaders, elders, the ones who are judging, because it's actually a participle, so the ones who are standing in the place of judgment over Israel. Harag, kill, slay, in the imperative here. So you're going to kill a man, literally a man, his man, But if we're thinking of it in Judges, like, you know, each of your own, any of your own people from your own tribe, from your own men, because it's in the plural, each from his own men. The ones who, or those who were yoked, because this is a nifil participle going back again, they had yoked themselves to Baal Peor, and now we have that in the nifil participle here. Those who were joined, who were yoked to the Baal of Peor. So we have you do have like a slight toning down of this, because it moves from impale them before the sun to just simply harag, which is that the same thing? Or, you know, is Moses altering the
So
instructions?
this is right. Is he
Was
he's
the
like, that's a
command a
little
little bit too
overkill.
hot?
It's a little overkill, Yahweh.
When
Calm down. Like,
there are
it's
some people who talk about the oddity of like, why is impaling them before the sun? Like, 1 through
Yeah.
5 is older. Like most view 1
Right.
through 5 is this older version that
Okay.
might still have some of these other flavors coming through with the role of the scent and the divine nose and anger, what's going on with the impaling before the sun, and why that would do a turning away of the divine wrath that you get. Did Moses, well, so the divine command is to yes,
That
to
was
impale,
what it was supposed to do. Yes.
uh-huh. And so people do the enfolding of like, well, harag is just folding all of that in. And so you just heard it. I'm truncating this. And it is like the judges, each of his own men, any of his own men who are going to do this, where you can hear like the undertones of, think of the Levites and that same thing, like go through and any of your own tribes. It's that same, like, supposed to be this idea of responsibility within your own still, that they're doing the mandate. It's not a one time or a one individual who's supposed to be doing it. If, you know, it's unclear, because if you go back up, like, who are the ones who's doing this? It's just Israel. It's no individual tribe is getting singled out at this point in time. It's just this broader stroke that the larger community is. So you know, possible, if you're wanting to see it as a thing, that an elder could have been participating among it.
Oh wow. Because I wondered when I was looking at this again today, I wondered if there was I mean, it's certainly, things certainly get muddled as we continue here with verse 6, but I wondered with this change in the instruction, if there was any source.
Yeah, well, that is like, so with 1 through 5, if you're a fan of debates around sources, there is a lot of old German scholarship dealing with 1 through 5, and kind of, it's that, like, in the mists of time, something emerged. Is this a J or an E, or a combination of J, E, or a pretext behind? It feels like one of those places where this is an older version, because we do get like a D version of Baal Peor that shows up as well, that knows some of this but doesn't know the Phinehas activities. Right. So there is this other memory that's floating around of this type of yoking at Baal Peor that happens. And, you know, in that version, you do have some differences. So this is one of those, like, maybe one goes one way and one goes the other. One was before the sun, and one is simply that, like, slay those who are participating. A big thing that you get throughout Numbers 25 is the role of priestly violence, sacred violence, which there's been a lot of very interesting work on as well. So, like, this is a text that is definitely dipping in that pool and in different phases of time.
Right. Yeah. No, it's I mean, hundreds of years too, right? Like, based on what I've been reading so far in your dissertation, you're dealing with traditions that are separated by great distances of time in this short little story here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but if you want more for that kind of, like, priestly violency stuff, Yonatan Miller has a lot of good stuff.
Good.
At UConn, wonderful work on Phinehas and the roles of violence and priestly violence and how that shifts over time. There's been I'd say a lot more work that's been paid attention to, like, that type of thing than where I went with it, which is covenant.
Right. So. Yeah. UConn is in the University of Connecticut, because as soon as you said that, the first thing that triggered in my head was like, wow, there's a biblical studies program in the UConn.
Yeah,
I'm a
UConn,
Canadian,
the
right?
Huskies,
So,
University. They got basketball, and they got some stuff with Phineas going on. I don't know what else they have going on. I'm sure they have other things.
I'm sure they have post-secondary education in the Yukon, but I have no idea what it's like. So it's yeah. Anyways, verse 6. Vehene ish mibne Yisrael bo vayakrev el Echav et Hamidianit le'ene Moshe ul ene kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'hema bochim petach ohel moed. Yeah, this verse. Now look, a man from the sons of Israel entered and or came and shoot, what is that one? That's
Karav.
yeah.
Brought. Well, like, but it's Hifal, so it's like, you can use brought. Like he forced, he dragged.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He brought to his brothers. He forced his way into his brothers with the Midianite woman. In the eyes of Moses and in the eyes of the entire congregation of the sons of Israel. And they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. I have so many questions about this verse. So first of all, Bo is probably, this is a Cal perfect third masculine singular verb. Vayakrev is a Cal imperfect third masculine singular with the Vav consecutive from Karav. And then I think that's all of them, isn't it? Yeah.
And then just the weeping, the participle.
Yeah. Oh, the weeping. Yeah, the
yeah.
bokim is a Cal Cal plural participle. Thank you.
Yeah.
So and I think, and I took this too because with in light of what's going on here, but now I'm wondering, I took this as like a sort of a derivative form of the participle, that this is this is happening while they were weeping at the opening of the tent of meeting. But now I'm wondering if this is something they, that was so upsetting it caused them
that they do it as a result. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because it could be if the command had come through and they have done the killing that they're supposed to, are they weeping because of the deaths that have taken place? Are they weeping because the man has brought by force this Midianite woman into their congregation? You do have different options whether it works, because like we don't, when we do get the turning away eventually, spoiler alert, of the divine wrath, the thing that's pointed to is not the fulfillment of what the command of 1 through 5 was, but is something else. So
yeah,
we don't get a clear declaration of that activity having taken place.
Yeah. And now suddenly we have the introduction of a Midianite woman, and the way she's introduced here is, I think this is interesting too, because it's just Hamidianat, Hamidianite, just the Midianite woman.
When you get this is the switch between like 1 through 5, it's Moab, and then starting from verse 6, it switches. The women are no longer Moabites; they're now Midianites. And it doesn't flip back. Moabites don't, like, Midianites continue on through the end of 25 as she is a Midianite. People have said maybe there's one within, like there's you can understand all kinds of arguments that come through. A very interesting one is that some people argue that this is Moses's wife, that's the cause for the weeping. Is maybe. But you also get a very
The
hard tie
way
to Numbers 31 at the end of this, just for like the broader Midianite war setup.
Yeah, okay. See, I think the way she's introduced just as the Midianite woman, and then before the eyes of Moses, made me think about this, right? It made me think, wow, is that
Yeah,
what's
which
going on here?
I mean, there are. Oh, I need to look up her name. I have a journal article from somebody who does argue that's exactly what they argue, and that because there is no specific there at this point in time, there will be later. A name does come in later, but because she's unnamed at this point, is the text assuming that you have this as a reference for one named character, Zipporah. And so if she goes unnamed, we're supposed to recall Zipporah. Or is she going unnamed at this point because they don't really care? Because we also don't get the name of here, one of the Israelites. So he's not named either. Is this supposed to be recalling some specific Israelite for you? Or is it just a guy and a girl, and neither one of them are yet named? They will be, but at this point,
Yeah, they get
they're
names
not.
later. That's right. Yeah.
So there are arguments that, yeah, this is very much about Zipporah. And then like this weeping at the tent of meeting here also has resonances with stuff from Bethel, which then, because of the Moses connections, like, is this more having to do with Moses traditions, the Mushite line, and what grows out from there? So like there's a lot of different ways this text fractures out for people's interpretation.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Which we'll talk about more next week.
Yeah, we will. All right. Verse 7.
Verse 7. Vayar Phinehas ben Eliezer ben Aharon hakohen vayakam metok ha'edah vayika Roma beyado. And he saw, and Phinehas saw this, Ra'ah, third masculine singular, Vav consecutive, and Phinehas saw, Phinehas being here clarified for you, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest. And he stood up, he arose, call masculine singular, third person. And he stood up from the midst, metok, from like in the middle, from in the center of, and left the congregation. And he laka, and he took, again, masculine, third person singular, laka, and he took a spear in his hand. So your main character has entered stage middle.
Stage middle. I wanted to ask you.
I apologize. It is Eleazar in the Hebrew. I can't get Eliezer out of my mind, so you will probably hear me read Eliezer the whole day, Jace. I apologize.
Yes, it is, Brandon. It's the Bible and archaeology dude.
It is me. But yeah, so you get now we have Moses as our named character so far, and now we get Phinehas. I mean, the Midianite, if you're calling her a named character too. And then Phinehas enters, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest. And we can talk about this more next week too, because what you exactly want to do with that, the priest, and who that's talking about, gets complicated, because it's also not, who is
sure.
the priest there, because you have, is it the most immediate and Aaron?
Is it Aaron or is it Phinehas?
Is it the initial who gets called as to what, and who gets called priest and when is not always consistent, or it's all encompassing.
Do you have any thoughts on this? Because I've seen this quite a bit. When you look at Richard Elliott Friedman does this too, but when you look at apologists who want to tie the Exodus stories back to the events, like to actual events of the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age, one of the things that you see consistently is a lot of discussion of Egyptian loanwords and Egyptian names and like, those sorts of things. Do you have any thoughts on that with Phinehas here? Because this is one that comes up, right? That this is
one that this is one that comes up, and there is, the priestly line has a lot of these, is the most consistent to have these types of names where you're going to get connections into either Egyptian loanwords, or roots out of that. There are those who argue, because of this and because of where the text is going to go, that this Phinehas, this Phinehas, is not is an Egyptian, that through this process is being adopted into the priestly line because of their activities that we're doing, and because we have at the beginning some of this, are you shifting allegiances through the ritual act itself? Maybe you're moving towards Moab, and now is this an opening of the door for people to make your way in through the participation of ritual activity, sacred slaughter, that's deemed acceptable by the text? So is this an adoptionist text that comes in? I think it runs into some problems for it to be adoptionist fully, because a lot of the adoptionist arguments, at least for this text, look towards the covenant as well, that's going to come as this, like, oh, see, and now they're needing to solidify and bring this in. But we don't get that same type of adoptionist language coming in with the other divine covenants that we get. Like, this isn't when David's getting, 2 Samuel 7, this isn't an adoptionist moment for David. You might argue, well, this is concerned for Solomon and clarifying those lines. There's ways to go, but that same argument isn't leveraged in those ways that it is against Phinehas here, because we do get these types of Egyptian loanwords or connections out inside the Levite materials.
Right.
That does, people open the door to say, oh, it's because they are, they're emerging out of, for me, this material is much later. Not all of it of the same time, emerging in different phases, I think, for what we have coming forward in 25. So different phases of P materials building in, but they do have it. How much do you want to try to put on the shoulders of that feels,
Yeah, right.
the shoulders of the past.
I think like this is we used to always just call him cuneiform guy before YouTube messed up everybody's handles, but he brings this up, right? Like, and this is kind of I'm kind of into this idea of there being like a Levitical core of people that entered into the congregation of the tribes of Israel from the outside and brought a lot of this stuff with them, which is what Friedman argues in his popular book too. But no, it's interesting.
And you have, in this, while we're doing this verse 2, we get here, he takes a spear, which, if you look back towards 1 through 5, the thing they're supposed to do is run them through, impale them, hang them up in some way. Like, you are starting to get, while it's not fully connected, it's not in the same ways, it does have like an awareness of what it's getting tacked onto. And someone
There's
asked,
an
like,
echo of that.
Yeah. And is this connected to Tummy Ache McGee, connected to Numbers 20:29, the last text from P, where they're mourning Aaron? Like, if you're wanting to try to see this as connected and split apart, is that is one of the reasons people can look at, what are we doing with the weeping? Is this connected to that idea of weeping? Although there's also places where, splits can happen and parts can move around out of those splits. I think you can see things where stuff does get jumbled out of order for other purposes. So there could be a connection out of that, but you do have a number of pathways through to try to explain the weeping, depending on what you see as being prioritized.
Right. Okay. Interesting. All right. Verse 8. Vayavo achar ish Israel el hakuba vayedkor et shenehem et ish Israel ve'et ha'isha el kabata vate atzar ha-magefa me'al b'nei Israel. And he entered after the man of Israel to this is I had to look this one up too. Hakuba is like literally the stomach,
The belly.
the belly. Yeah. The suggestion is that this is like the chamber
Like the innermost chamber
inside
of the tent.
inside the tent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think this is the word is I mean, well, I'll just finish translating here. And and he stabbed. He just ran through the two of them, that is the man of Israel and the woman, um through her stomach. The word is repeated there again.
Word.
So
Mhm.
it's kind of like it's like it's like a word play. Um so which is neat. Um and h- the I thought this was interesting too. The plague, the Magefa, was suspended from or stopped um from um on the sons of Israel. The plague came to an end, but now suddenly I mean, that's a weird word
Well, it is a
to
weird
use
word.
to describe this.
When
The
you should
Magefa,
also you should be
right?
thinking like, "I didn't know that there was a plague."
Exactly. I'm
What
like,
plague?
what is
There's
was
a
this
plague?
a and this yeah, and this came up when I was working on this text with the Discord group. Somebody asked, they're like, was this maybe was are they is this like another story about a plague that this writer is using as a base or as mixing in to create this new
Yeah,
narrative
well,
about the
the plague, if you go to Psalm 106, you'll get like, there's multiple echoes of Baal Peor
oh,
D and P
yes, that's
traditions,
another one of the Phinehas
and it has
texts, right?
plague.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there it
Okay.
knows of a plague as well. So Psalm 106, 28
Interesting.
through 31, and you have like a plague broke out among them, verse 29. Phineas stood up and interceded. The plague was stopped. So, like, P has this plague idea, which is not present in the first 5 verses. Uh, unless, again, you read, oh, well, the divine fury is going to be the plague. Like, yeah, but it doesn't, the plague suddenly shows up and is a significant factor because it's going to kill a ton of people. And yet we haven't had it showing up until this point. And so you do have an odd thing, like just suddenly there is a plague. And like from
Yeah.
where? Yeah, just suddenly,
Yeah.
suddenly there is a plague.
Just it's like it yeah, it's very strange. Anyways, the verbs here, vayavo, is a cal imperfect third masculine singular vav consecutive from bo. uh vayed vayedkor is also a cal imperfect third masculine singular with the vav consecutive. And then um Vateatzar is a that's a nifal. That's a nifal
Mhm.
imperfect third feminine singular with the vav consecutive. Of course, the subject here is magefa.
Yeah, it was
So
restrained, it was held back, it was.
yeah, held back.
And with the tent,
So
like, it could be because you get the doubling, like, it can be belly. If you wanna make it the innermost thing, like the innermost chamber, some argue that this should be connecting into the idea of sexual activity in the first 5 verses, that
mm,
this is a sexual
wow.
cult space that
Yeah.
Phineas is going into to stop
Oh, okay.
sexual activity through, penetration. And so
Yeah.
is it that is the tent space, and then when he is plaguing, he punctures her through the same thing, and is this, through the womb, through the belly,
Mm.
through the what, that he is now stopping inappropriate sexual activity through something that itself sounds very, phallic and sexual in nature, but dipping into the violence and
See,
this way and going another.
I think I've pictured it, and I think I've actually heard sermons preached in this direction, that they're like he basically pins them together because they're
It's
already right. They're
the
already
ultimate
right in the act of they're in
yeah.
the coital act, right?
Ultimate
Um,
coitus interruptus here. It's a 2-for-1
yeah,
special,
so it's
which,
the
like,
it
if you
really
wanna
is.
read a
It's
weird expansion or a fun one, Pseudo Jonathan's expansion on Numbers 25, Phineas gets a set of miracles that both protect him from the contamination of blood, but also do a number of interesting things with the two of them where they are speared together, but then he lifts them up and then they flip. And so now their bits are exposed and on the outside, so their shame is
oh my
shown to
god,
everyone. And
that's
it
incredible.
very much leans into like the
Holy
sexualized
cow,
reading of the moment and
that's
his
awesome.
activity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now something else I was wondering about here too is like this is a rival sanctuary, then I guess is
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
commenters, because I was like,
If you
what
see it as
kind
a
of a
sexual cult type of growing out of
yeah,
that activity from
yeah,
before, if there is a cult connected to food in verses 1 through 5 that may be feminine in nature or overseen by, and then if this is continuing that, is this a whose control is this? Whose cult is this? There's lots
yeah.
of like who has ritual authority, outsiders, insiders, in what spaces, what tent as well, because right, the tent of meeting, and now you're in
This
the inside
is
of this tent.
is this the tent of meeting?
So
Like that's
now,
something I
well, some people say yes, because we had a tent specifically that they're at the tent of meeting, and then he went after the Israelite because he stands up, he takes his spear,
they're
and
all outside. They're
so
at the
yeah,
entrance.
they're at the entrance. So has he entered into the tent of meeting, or has he gone into his own tent? Like they're
Right. Right.
I've seen people read for both, and that part of what like rises his rage is you are doing this activity in that they're weeping right outside the tent of meeting. Then he went after the Israelite man into the tent. Well, what tent? Because he leaves the congregation. The congregation is outside, and so if he leaves
Yeah.
them and he goes, is he going to, when it says like to his brothers, is that to his
Yeah.
familial encampment, his family's
Oh,
tent?
yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that's where he has taken
Right.
her? Or is he, by
Mhm.
bringing to the brothers, that's all of Israel, and then the tent that he enters is the tent of meeting, passing
Yeah.
by the congregation?
That's when I was picturing that, I'm like, that's some that's some metal shit.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
brazen, right? That's just well, let's finish up here with verse 9. It's a good place to stop at the Beducha
Yeah.
there.
Vayihu hametim bamakefa arba'a va'esrim alaf. And like it came to pass, those who died, participling, right? The ones that died, and it was those who were died in the plague or by the plague or from the plague or from the slaughter. Because some people read this as like this should be this idea of slaughter to try to find a way to fix
Yeah, yeah.
the slaughter, the death that's supposed to happen. But it's 24,000. 24,000 people
Sure
died
is.
from this plague. And so
Or
you have
24 military units.
20, yeah.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah. So, and you have third masculine plural, haya at the front, and then and it was, and then yeah, mot. The ones that died, mot call participling here as well. Those that were died, those that died with us. So for a plague that wasn't mentioned to start things, it killed a lot of people.
It sure did, right?
A lot of people died out of this plague. And yeah, and this is a nice break point because this is where the P version maybe probably first stopped was with this little maybe moment of culmination before the beauty
And then
that is verses 10
what
through 13.
follows here in verse 10 to 11, which we're going to talk all about next week, is the inserted text of the eternal covenant of Phinehas.
Yeah, and you get because I think, and for the spoiler, for those of you who want the teaser for next week, what you get a lot that follows on from 10 on down. That if you want to, if you skip over 10 through 13, if you're reading back through this and just pick back up at verse 14 and see if that how you feel about that one, because then we suddenly get names, because we get something
Right.
that feels like something and something that feels like something, and all the pieces like make sense to the story that came before, but feel like they're addressing different questions and concerns. So you
Mhm.
can make sense of it if you just read it together and you go, yeah, and now we're getting names for people and now we have something. But they don't all go together, I don't think. They do at the end of the day, but
Right.
they don't come together in the same way.
Making them fit. That's what that's what the Pentateuch editors were doing.
Mhm.
So,
And they're thinking you're gonna
cool.
be so taken up by the sex that just happened in Phineas's threesome that you're not really worried about the rest of this because 'cause you're gonna be like, "He did what with his spear, with his
That's
shaft?
he did right?
He
His
put both of
oh,
them on his? Wow, that's incredible."
wow. Wow. Boy, this is you get it all on this show. I had I yeah, a month, 2 months ago, I had Rabbi Chana and Josh talking about pegging here,
Well,
and now we've got
there
it's
you
here
go.
you go. This
Here you
is
go.
this it's just kind of becoming the pegging show.
Yeah, I mean, that
I've
is
decided to stop fighting it. It's I might just have to lean into it. Not too hard, but you know. Yeah, so I think that's probably enough for today though.
yeah,
So,
we'll go through more of what else comes with him next week. But no, and I mean,
yeah.
it's such a fun like, it's such a fun story that I feel like just gets skipped over, um, or talked about in different ways, or it's like it gets folded into weird stuff, but it's such a fun little,
Yeah.
like, what in the world is happening? And lots of different things you can hit, so, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
you
good place
sure
to hang out.
can. So, a couple things I think, um I was never here is gonna say he's going to spam your chat this week with basement talk.
I mean,
So,
hopefully, I don't have to be down there tomorrow, so,
oh, yeah, hopefully, that would be great. And,
thank you.
Tommy Ake McGee says, "I think Richard Elliott Friedman mentioned somewhere that the weeping at the entrance of the Tenna meeting was a continuation of Numbers 20, 29, the last text from P, where they were mourning Aaron." Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that I mean, I know yeah, that was the and trying to say, like, sometimes the P stuff gets split apart, and in what
Mm,
ways, and does it all pick up as cleanly? You do have, if you go back to Numbers, um, yeah, with the death of Aaron, they see that he's dead, and they mourn, and then you move out. Now, there are arguments for there being like interjections of P. You're not getting like good big solid chunks of P between Numbers 20 and Numbers 25. You get other materials, and then 25 is kind of your next big unit. And so are those little interjections, like threads of stuff they got thrown away that there could have been more text? Are they stitchings, or are they redactional layers? Um, in the morning for Aaron, if you want to see their weeping here is connected to that, given the connection of Phineas, son of, son of, son of, okay, is this playing a part
mhm,
of what is rising his anger? Eliezer is who takes over, not at this
yeah,
moment Phineas. And so what is he doing, and why I think it's interesting to see it as maybe that next logical jump point. The competition for it is to say, like, oh, it's the strongest competition for it being about Aaron is that it's about Bethel and the weeping at Bethel materials, and that
right.
might present
Okay.
a different read through.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Nice.
either way, like spatially, it does something for you for that side. It does something for you for the
Mhm.
question of, like, spatially, where are they? Where does he do this activity itself? So all of the points, like, you can kind of fiddle around.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, really interesting. And as just echoing noise ending here, who said this was a really interesting stream today. Um, I'm pulling this one. Friendly jab from an Edmonton fan. The Calgary Flames suck. Listen. This is not this is not the place for it. But I feel I do feel like it's necessary. Maybe I'll finish the show with a clip, but one that I've got in my back pocket here. So I guess yeah, we should probably wrap up. Do you got anything coming up this week before we see you again on Thursday?
We'll have, I'll be back next Thursday, talk about more Numbers 25. We'll have
Very
a
excited
live
about it.
tomorrow afternoon, 1:30, kind of the regular come around, hang out randomness.
Oh, nice.
Next week
You and
we
Bob?
have Bob is gone, so it'll be me and Mary
Oh,
Kate.
okay.
Our student will be there
Oh,
to
okay.
answer some questions, do a little bit
nice.
of news here.
Excellent.
We're gonna be talking to somebody tomorrow, and it should come out either tomorrow afternoon or Saturday, about some of the real fun Pete Hegseth stuff with Ezekiel.
Oh my God.
So nothing to think
Holy
about
cow.
that. And then next week, we got Kara Cooney talking about mummification for the podcast.
Wow.
So I was very happy to have
That's
Kara
awesome.
back on. So she'll be around next week for that. So, us mixing and maxing and scattering and all kinds of things all over the place.
Boy, there's a lot going on. Excellent.
Yeah, this week,
cool.
Chance Bernard came on to talk about Jesus and slavery, which is always a topic that no one has thoughts on. So that's a fun one.
Right. I just Josh and I just published a video. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. With shoot, my mind is blanking. Christy Cobb talking about slavery in the New Testament. And we didn't even get around to talking to you, but you could tell she very much wanted to talk about Luke 17. Yes,
ancient slavery in its New Testament context. Yeah,
it's an excellent book. So it's a great stream too. Great video, I should say. It wasn't a stream. It was an edited video. But we didn't spend any time talking about Luke 17 or about Jesus and enslaved people. But she really wanted to. You could tell she was disappointed that that we didn't get around to that. But no, that's very cool. So for me over here tomorrow, I will be back with Vish at 2:00 in the afternoon Pacific, 5:00 Eastern. I'm doing a close read tomorrow of 11Q Melchizedek. Pretty excited about it because it's just a phenomenally interesting text, and I think one that gets badly misunderstood. So we're doing that tomorrow. On Saturday, I will be back on Dapper Dinosaur's channel in the afternoon. And then on Saturday night is Budget Scripture Saturday with Dr. Tapioca Weasel, Nitty, and myself. And then I think that's it then until we're back on next week on Thursday for to hear Dr. Jones talk to us and tell us all about his work in his dissertation. So yeah, I guess we'll get out of here. So with that, I'll leave you guys with this.
You literally are talking about.
We did miss a chat from Kipp. Mark pointed out. Yeah, Kipp never says anything important.
Oh, that's because that was during when
the Dead Sea Scrolls were written thousands of years ago, Kipp. Nobody cares.
Okay, so Kipp, actually I'm not reading this one.
I'll read it.
No.
I'm heading to bed very satisfied in the unimpeachable fact that the Oilers suck. Wow. Good night, everybody. And he's left, so you can't even reply. He dropped the mic. That's it. It's the only reference we need to make to that tonight. Moving on.
Yeah, fuck. All right.